Hey, this is Tyler with Sensible Soils. Well, you hear that noise in the background? That is our turkeys. So, let's give you a quick view of our turkeys. And we're not a huge production. We don't have a lot going on here, but got enough for us and enough for a few friends and family members. So here they are. So we got a few different types in here. These are our bronze-breasted. These are most similar to traditional meat birds that you get for Thanksgiving. We've got a bourbon red. I think those white ones are Narragassetts. Gray one there is a blue slate. And I forget what these beautiful black and white ones are. Couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But these birds have a nice setup here. So this is our turkey shaw, essentially. And it's a very simple system. All of our heritage breeds like to fly up there. And all of our bigger birds, the bronze-breasted, like to stay on the ground. So our heritage birds hang out up there at night and roost out there. The bronze-breasted, we can't really make them roost. We tried, some of them do, some of them don't. But they actually prefer just to stay on the ground. So we felt a little bit bad for them. We gave them one of our old chicken tractors. But they don't like that either. They still prefer nesting outside in the grass. So they're wild birds, you know, they're just like wild turkeys, and we do have wild turkeys around here. They prefer to just sleep on the ground. But they are beautiful birds, and they're very fun. You can hear them, they're making noise all day long. So our setup here is good for them. Right now they're actually in the process of cleaning up a space for our market garden for next year. So they are going through some of the plants that we used to have here. Well, they're not touching this giant ragweed right in front of us for some reason. But there's actually some leftover radishes, turnips. Looks like some kohlrabi left in the back there too. So they're going through and cleaning up right now. And that cleanup is giving us lots of turkey poop. So all that is great for the garden. Gives us very rich soil to work with. Plane flying overhead. So that's kind of a quick overview. Let's take a look. So our turkey shaw here, you can see, it is a 6x4x4. It's got a bunch of roosts there for the birds. 2 wheels on the back, and up front has its supports. And that is just a piece of conduit I had flying around. So that's why it's too long and why it's kind of floppy in there. Their feeder is just a 10-gallon feeder, but that's too little for them. And so I put a second feeder inside that house, try and train them to go in there where it's dry and to keep the food protected. And the water is just a 5-gallon hooked up to a glasser. And you have to fill that every few days, but it's not something they ever have problems with. But let's talk about these bronze-breasted. These birds eat a ton. They are younger than the heritage birds. It's hard to believe. That is our sole tom heritage. but he is pretty much the same size, if not a little smaller than the bronze-breasted. So these bronze-breasted, they are big birds. They are younger, so they put on weight very fast, and they are voracious eaters. They eat more food than the heritage birds do. They're also more used to feed, and they look around and forage less than the heritage birds. Again, not too surprising considering the heritage are only a few generations removed from wild ones, whereas these bronze-breasted are many generations later. So, I'm gonna stop here for a second, and we're gonna feed the birds, and I'll show you just how wild these things are. So just to show you, these birds love to eat. You can see they eat a ton. They don't like being slowed down either, I've noticed. So these slots at the bottom, while they will use them, their preference is to just eat out the top. At first I thought this was a problem because you can see how much feed is on the ground. But as they run out of food, they do a good job scavenging the rest of the pellets that fall out. The crumbles, not so much, but the pellets, they will still peck them out of the grass. And you can see our heritage breeds here are not nearly as aggressive as these bronze-breasted are. And onto my other feeder here, you can see, same thing here. They're pretty aggressive. This feeder wasn't to the top. So just to show you, these birds love to eat. You can see, they eat a ton. They don't like being slowed down either, I've noticed. So these slots at the bottom, while they will use them, their preference is to just eat out the top. At first I thought this was a problem because you can see how much feed is on the ground. But as they run out of food, they do a good job scavenging the rest of the pellets that fall out. The crumbles, not so much, but the pellets, they will still peck them out of the grass. And you can see our heritage breeds here are not nearly as aggressive as these bronze-breasted are. And onto my other feeder here, you can see, same thing here. They're pretty aggressive. This feeder wasn't to the top, so they're not eating out the top. But again, they just go to town. These birds like to eat. They are traditional commercial breeds, but they do pretty well. They do well in the pasture still. No losses from the elements, no major issues. No losses from hawks. So overall, it's been a pretty successful with them on the pastures. And here's another better picture of our chickshaw here. You can see Very simple design. So it's a 4x4x6. And those 2x4s in the middle are really just 90s going straight up. So about the only thing I want to call out is to reinforce this a little bit. We use these specialty ties so that our 2x4s all have good, strong structural support. So this is similar to what you'd see in a house. It's not just screws. My concern was this would bounce apart as it's getting moved around a lot. And we put chicken wire on the outside. We were concerned initially about owls coming in and snatching a bird out at night. Haven't had that problem, but I don't know if it's from the wire or if it's just, you know, not something we have to be concerned with. So here you go. Here's our heritage breeds now coming in for some food. And you can see they are still hungry, but they are patient and they wait to eat. Last thing I'll show you over here is our glasser. And this setup replaced just a standard water that chickens normally use. This is more similar to what's used in poultry houses. I don't know how well this will work during the wintertime, but if you can see, let's try and get you close up here. You can see that water is dripping. So this system is very simple. It is gravity fed. So the water on the outside pulls down a valve up here in the black area, and as there's so much water in here, it pulls that valve shut. And when that valve's shut, it does not overflow with water. So, great system. I'm very happy with this. But again, my only concern is how this is going to do in the winter. Obviously not something we have to worry about with these turkeys getting ready to be processed in a few weeks, but I do have chickens that we were considering using this system for. So we might give this one to the chickens and kind of observe how that works out for them. So you might be wondering, are we going to do turkeys again next year? And from what we've seen, what we've experienced, yes. The one thing that I personally think is probably the nicest is the fact that you only need to kill one turkey, and out of that you get 15 to 25 pounds of meat. To kill the same number of chickens, you need to kill somewhere between, let's say 3 and 8. So if we look at it from that, it seems morally we should be raising more turkeys than chickens. But also on top of that, the chicken processing is pretty hard with guys with hands this size. So if your hands are enormous like mine are, it is hard processing a bird, let alone a heritage chicken. And Cornish crosses, they're a little bit bigger, but they're still a little challenging for me. Plus, these birds have a ton of personality. They are just fun animals to have around. They do a great job. They clean up our gardens very well. They still fertilize very well. And frankly, overall, they're solid birds. Now the question is, would we do a heritage versus bronze-breasted or something similar? In the future, I think I'd probably lean towards the bronze-breasted. They put on weight a lot faster. I lost fewer of them at the beginning. We had some brooder problems, and with the COVID delays, I had some birds stuck in the mail. I didn't lose any bronze-breasted birds, so they're hardy birds. Even out here in the pasture, I didn't lose any out in the pasture. I lost 2 heritage ones, but that was strictly from predator problems. So nothing related to ill health or anything. And I actually had my heritage birds were trying to attack and kill another bird. Unfortunately, lost that one. Bronze-breasted though, they have been solid birds. They're not aggressive. They put on weight quickly and efficiently. So overall, I do the bronze-breasted. I've got one concern, and that's something we'll have to take a look after processing. The birds are pretty lazy and they lay down a lot. And what that can do is that can add a tough spot on the breast of the bird. I'm not sure how that's going to be, and I'm not sure how I'd fix that with future birds. I think, and this is just my guess, if I can teach them to roost at night when they're younger, I suspect by getting them to roost at night, that risk of them getting that tough spot on their chest will go away. But even during the day, they're lazily walking around and laying on the ground. So the trade-offs for fast-growing birds are birds that are inherently lazier and can get some tough spots on them. But like I said, overall, these have been great animals. And if you're looking to get into some type of poultry production, don't steer away from turkeys. They're a little bit bigger. They're a little bit harder to handle because they are bigger. But overall, they've been great birds. So, hope you found this informative. As always, this is Tyler Buck with Sensible Soils. And if you are local to my market, I'd like you to take a look at our website and sign up today. And we will bring local produce and local pasture-raised eggs directly to your doorstep every week. If you're not local, keep tuning in, and hopefully I can share some bits of wisdom that we've learned over time. Thanks again. Have a great day.